Hello everybody and welcome to parksbros. It's Drew here and we're back in Planet Coaster, back in Rolling Springs, our Cedar Fair / Six Flags park in Colorado. We're having a good time checking out the park again a week after last, and I gotta say not too much done in the park this week, unfortunately. Didn't really have that much time, wasn't feeling too inspired for most of it. But with that said, there's a couple changes in the park. There's a brand new restaurant, at least the exterior, as well as a brand new ride, actually multiple new rides that we'll go check out in the bare bones look of a brand new land. So let's go ahead and head that way and walk along the left side of International Street. As life has been brought to Rolling Springs, last week we checked out the brand new Wendigo. As you see it peeking through the background of that B&M Giga Coaster. Voting will begin very, very shortly on how those elements are going to turn out, and we'll check those out later. But let's go ahead and zoom past Riptide Rush Amok Family Launch Coaster up towards the front of the park. This is one of the newer rides at the park as well. Now, we've skipped a little bit of the path to check out one of the custom supports on Riptide Rush, as well as something you might spot in the background that is pretty different in comparison to last week, and that is the color scheme for our Boomerang. Now, I was pretty excited to see one of the old color schemes from Knott's Berry Farm make its way into the park, but now I've decided, after the B&M Giga Coaster took that purple color, it just made no sense to have two purple coasters. I know that seems really odd and kind of dumb, especially when you have the two blue coasters next to each other. But Wendigo is supposed to be something really different, you know, really crazy, something that just is the icon of the park. So you want that to stand out in comparison to every other coaster now. So it made sense in my mind to introduce this light blue and dark blue color scheme, very similar to one of the color schemes that was at Knott's Berry Farm for a while as well. Honestly, we're collecting all the color schemes at this point. I think we just need that lime on lime color scheme, and we've got the whole gambit just about, which is kind of funny. But yeah, slight changes here, nothing too crazy. Just did some extra foliage on the sides, as well as all the color changes with the station building, as well as the track and all the custom supports. We'll walk around this way just to get a quick look at the new seating area over here, as well as like some backstage access over on the left. But yeah, just some basic foliage filling out the empty space on this side of things. I think it looks pretty good, if you ask me. Very plain, very basic, but it is a Boomerang. I mean, who are we kidding? This is just something they would plop down anyway, as a cheap and hopefully easier to maintain ride that just is pretty eye-catching while not taking up too much space at the same time. So, and I think that does it really, really well. It's kind of funny. You can see like all the custom supports kind of disappear for Wendigo the farther back we go. But we'll head closer to it right now as we get a cool look at some new things up here, which before turning that way, I do want to mention some things I'm hoping to plan in some of these empty spots. We talked about this on the stream a little while ago, but hopefully some custom chairlift supports that had just kind of been left there after the chairlift was eventually taken out at one point. I think that would be a really cool idea to use as like a lighting rig. So I'm going to put those throughout parts of the park potentially, because it is one of those transport rides, unfortunately, that just seems to be disappearing across the nation as well as across the world. But moving onward from there, you can see a brand new building. I've officially started the thing I've been dreading for over a month now, and that is this building complex with a restaurant, restroom, and a gift shop. This is our brand new restaurant, and it is called Three Beaches and Ash Witch's Brew. So it is taking on the Grimm's Grove theme. It is not themed in Tidewater. It's not officially part of that land. So there is kind of this crazy theme clash between the two. I mean, the arcade is literally right next door, and then you have this like spooky Tudor style house right here. But it is kind of how I expected this to go. This is something that probably would have appeared at the same time that Vampire popped up with like a revitalization or introduction maybe of this land as an idea. And this space originally would have been taken up with the trolley that you can actually see the remnants of the track up towards the front of the park on the left side of International Street. It would have originally come up to this fountain actually and circled around it. But now, since that's all gone, the infrastructure for all that is gone, torn up, and they've added this really, really cool building. Some outdoor seating is what I focused on. As the name suggests, there are 3 beech trees out here, as well as 1 ash tree right here. So I thought that was kind of fun to allude to the building surroundings. And speaking of the building, pretty interesting on the outside, I would say, but the inside, I mean, I've got a lot of work to do. So yeah, no interior done here at all outside of, I guess, the chandeliers here. But I'm really excited to hopefully do some work on that pretty soon. One thing that I'm very proud of, actually, is what I did in terms of night lighting. So let's go ahead and check that out. So you can kind of see that colored mist disappears into the bushes a little bit and looks more muted and just like regular mist in the nighttime. But there are some purple lights that shine on this building that I think just add this interesting pop of color that definitely show it is completely split from, of course, all the buildings off to the left-hand side. I mean, everything is super bright and like, especially the bumper cars over here, the herniator. It's just this burst of color everywhere, whereas here it's a lot more subdued. It's just your typical firelight and then this ominous purple shadow on this side of the building, which I think just alludes to that idea that it is kind of magical, but not exactly in a good way. So I'm really adoring how this is coming out. I will say I might have to add a little bit more shade in the future for this exterior seating, but that was my hope for this area, just to be outdoor seating for the restaurant. And I think it is working out pretty well. Did a little thing to the fountain here, added some mist to the bottom of it. But yeah, I still have a lot of work to do on this building to go, unfortunately. And it's a pretty massive building. That's why I've kind of been dreading it for the longest time. But it's looking nice, at least from the seating angle for sure. I love how this looks. Not exactly over the moon about this. I wish I could hide some lights somewhere that would seem realistic. I might put up some lighting rigs up into the sky over here. But yeah, it's all looking really good. We're almost there. I think we're almost there in terms of completion. Hopefully I can get it done completely in the next week or two. And hopefully by then we'll have another brand new land completely done. But speaking of which, let's go over there. Over on the outskirts of Planet Snoopy as of right now, we turn to our left and you'll notice a brand new sign pointing you in different directions. Well, Planet Snoopy, off to the right here. The Doghouse Theater, which is not yet started, will be over around the corner. And then Tidewater, we were just over there. Still have some things I gotta do with that Boardwalk Gaming section especially. And then Lulu City 1882 off to this side. That's right, we've officially started this western expansion. I'm really excited for this, I gotta say. It's gonna be amazing. We have this train that has been set up with this custom bridge that I made right here to make sure it kind of becomes another icon on this main lake as you'll walk around on this side. Get this amazing view of Anaconda, obviously, it just takes over. Then you'll have this amazing fountain show pop up every once in a while, but then this bridge caps it all off. And it is looking great, I gotta say, especially when a train is going by. But I will say, there's only one train on the track right now, and the route is very, very long. I think it takes like 6 minutes in real time or 5 minutes in real time. It's pretty ridiculous. So honestly, it'll be a little while until we see the train come back around right now. But we do have an attendant in front of the crossing right here, and this does work. These are amazing props from the toolkit in the workshop, and they work absolutely amazingly. And I'm really excited about them. I have multiple train crossings, so they are very important. And speaking of which, we're actually going to walk over to the next one right now. This is right next to the train station itself, right before it, actually. So this is your main train station for Lulu City 1882. And honestly, still have a lot more to do on it, obviously. Like, it is so bare bones right now. But yeah, hoping to make this look really, really nice. It will be one of the amazing capstones to this area, so I'm excited for that. Some light foliage addresses the roadway on the left-hand side to block you from, hoping to hop over the bushes and then over the fencing into the railway itself. But speaking about the crossings again, thankfully the train has come back around. I literally had to speed up time for so long to get it to come back around. But it looks amazing coming across the bridge and, of course, across the crossings. Unfortunately, guests do not stop for the train coming by, so they will walk through the train. That's just a way that the game works. But yeah, I think it looks amazing at every single crossing, as maybe we'll see the tail end of this one if we run quick enough, as it makes its way back into the station. But yeah, I love how that came about. I think it's amazing. And then we'll keep walking towards the Cradles of the World, where we will be greeted with this amazing log flume, which eventually will be the entrance to the area. But there's also this other crossing right here, the third and final one. It will not be crossing any more roads. So it really is just that barrier between Lulu City and the rest of the park, which is kind of nice if you ask me. But this is our other ride for today's episode. This is Osprey, a Gerstlauer skyfly. Super simplistic theming. Have to do some extra changes for some of the colors on the exterior of the queue and whatnot, but we'll get to that eventually. Small details right now. Super simplistic theming. Realistically bare bones. Would have been put in like 2013, 2014. One of the newer skyflies, or when they were first introduced, I guess, is what I should be saying. But the main allure to this ride is something we'll see once we get a bird's eye view, potentially from the ride itself. I will say it is kind of nauseating in-game riding these things in first person. But man, oh man, it looks absolutely majestic where it's at. And we might as well walk through the queue. So in this queue, the basic Mr. Fans and, of course, a couple advertising TVs have this amazing piece from the theme maker's toolkit. This is a custom bird hanger, I think is what it's called. It's really, really cool. I will say it's not an Osprey, obviously, so I might have to change the name of the ride if you have ideas for like a smaller bird from Rocky Mountain National Park that flies really high and goes really fast. I'd love to hear it. Love to hear your suggestions. I know there are like 200 bird species that live there, so it is kind of difficult to choose. But yeah, super simplistic queue. Might as well skip the last part of it, as we get a bird's eye view of this Gerstlauer skyfly. Yeah, the main allure to this is the fact that it literally is hanging over a cliff. And it's no small cliff at that. This is like, I want to say 80 feet tall, something like that. It's pretty massive. This is something we would see at like Glenwood Caverns, which, funnily enough, is also in Colorado. But yeah, the whole idea of this ride is to be really sketchy and scary to a normal guest, that it goes over a cliff. And for me, that seems amazing. I think it would be really cool to be doing flips and whatnot while going over this immense terrain change. But yeah, it's kind of cool. One of my good buddies had this idea one night, and he was like, you know what you should put there? Gerstlauer skyfly. And I was like, that would be incredible. It fills out the space really well, because this path here, with how the terrain is, yes, there will be changes, but with how the terrain currently is, I'm trying to keep it pretty close. There's not too much I can put here in terms of rides or restaurants or anything like that. Again, I'm going to have probably just another simple seating area around here. But yeah, the fact I could even squeeze in a ride right there is perfection, if you ask me. And then eventually we'll have some backstage, as well as most of the log rides layout is probably going to be in this space right here, I would assume, with how I kind of had it set up originally, unless I decide to change it. But I do love it as kind of an entryway into the land, and the train does go through. It's kind of got this idea of it continually travels west, so eventually you go past the Pacific Ocean, haha, very funny, and then into China, which is where Xanadu is going to take place, and then eventually you make it back to Europe, I guess. And the train route, which again, lots of terrain changes to be made, eventually makes it to South South America. I guess it's kind of funny how that worked out. But I'm hoping to hopefully put a train depot in this space here, which would be really cool to just have an extra storage place for the trains as well as a maintenance area. As in that entire time we were talking, it made another cycle round, which is kind of funny. But yeah, not too many changes overall in the park this week, but hopefully by the time November 6th comes around, goodness gracious, that's horrifying, I will have this park at least close to done. I don't think I'm going to be able to completely finish it, unfortunately. But it's looking really good, and I'm really excited with the small changes from this week. I hope you are as well. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of these weekly updates until this park is finished, even if it's past Planet Coaster 2 coming out, which I will say I am over the moon about that. I will be starting a park for that game as well, maybe even just a water park potentially, which would be kind of cool. But thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you on the next ride.